it will be a little bit of a nice cooling change by Thursday and into Friday. You know, today's weather, at least early on, calls for a party. Actually, a centennial celebration, perhaps, a 100 years worth of celebration.
Pinellas County, 100 years old today. 100 years ago, they told Hillsborough County, we don't need you.
That's it.
We're breaking out on our own.
Too far to get over to the courthouse. We're going to have our own county right here.
We just saw Sean Daly there, and you're with a bunch of pioneers. And Sean, there wasn't much excitement there, but being a pioneer is tough. It's a rough life.
It is a rough life.
That's right. Yes, guys, we are in the blacksmith shop at Heritage Village. There's a lot of smithery going on here. We're a little bit worried about Frank's safety right now. Look at that. Next to me, I have Dennis working hard over here. And Dennis was explaining to me that, say, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, the blacksmith was the mechanic.
He was basically the mechanic of the community.
I love that.
And in many cases, they would have had the luxury of brand new steel, but in a lot of cases, they didn't. So what they would have done, they would have taken whatever steel was available and repurposed it, okay?
So they recycled back then.
Recycled back then. And here's an example. Here's an old auger bit. I can't touch it, obviously, but I'm at the process of reshaping it. And over here is an example of one we did earlier. And it took a lot of cleaning, but you can see it's got an edge here on this side, and it's just rough on this side.
You were showing me earlier a scalpel.
Yeah, this one would have been a scalpel.
So is that like a surgical scalpel?
Well, right. I mean, if you remember, too, back then, the blacksmith would have been the person that, say, a doctor had his tools get dull. He would have gone to the blacksmith to have them either resurfaced or repaired, remade, sharpened, what have you. And the blacksmith would have taken care of that. So a lot of what
the blacksmith, an integral part of the community.
Exactly. Yeah. Excuse me. And what we do here is we actually use coal, which is true to what they would have done in that time period. Mm-hmm. We take the coal, we have some coal in a box over there, we use a forge over to the left here, and we turn coal into what's called coke. Now, coke is basically pre-burned coal. What you do is you get it good and hot, like hotter than this in that forge. You get it up to temperature, and then you pour water on it. Now, the water will take away a lot of the impurities, so that when you're using it in a forge over here, it's burning hotter and cleaner. Okay. And that's why we don't have all the smoke in our faces that you would if we hadn't done that. So that's what we do. The first thing you do is you make your coke.
And how hot is that in there? How hot does it get?
That in the center of that fire, it'll be about 3,000 degrees in the very center. At the surface, it's probably, right now, it's probably about 1,900, 1,800 degrees, somewhere in there. It's cooled down. I haven't cranked some air into it. Yeah. To keep it at about 2,000 degrees, you have to constantly blow air into it. And these fans that we use on these forges are from anywhere from the late Civil War time period to the early 1900s. That's what they would have used.
And the technology is still so effective too.
Oh, absolutely. There's thing you can do. There's something called a forge weld, and I'll show you an example of that. Yeah. This here piece was actually something like a straight piece like this that we folded over, and you can barely see the edge there. I'm not sure if you're able to get that on the camera, but what we did is a forge weld. Now, it takes a lot of coal to do that. Yeah. And this is also a good example of what they would have done in the time period. You need a hatchet.
That's wild.
This is basically going to be a hatchet or a tomahawk.
Yeah. Oh, that's
We start off with one piece of steel, fold it over, weld it together, and then fashion the edge.
That's great. Hey, Dennis, thanks so much. Come on down to Heritage Village today. Check out Dennis and Ken doing their smithy works. That was an education, sir. Thank you very much. Open stay at 9, totally free. And come celebrate the 100th birthday of Pinellas County. Happy birthday, Pinellas County.
Hey, that guy was great.
Very cool.
That's a real art to that. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, coming up, we're going to tell you where you can get your documents shredded and discount admission on a popular family attraction.
Plus, we got a couple of popular nightclubs. One last day, or one last night only.
Closing the doors.
Tell you about that. Also have a final check of your forecast.